this creation story template that exists right in front of the first monomyth where Noah picks up. Boy, I really want to nail that thing down until there's no secrets left in it. So we're going to get back to it in this video, and they're just going to be going on and on because, or until I get it figured out, because I'm figuring it out. There's fun things in here that we're trying to extract. And it does so by pattern seeking, and there's more to it than just pattern seeking. There's actually some experiential life things that have to kind of be in place that helps you see what's going on. At any rate, let's get into it. I want to move from the first two creation accounts. I've been working on those extensively. I still don't have them 100% nailed down, but I would like to move on and get through the template, starting with sin and Cain and Abel, and getting us up to the point where we're ready to take the journey. There's a couple of things going on in this section that we haven't addressed yet. I've kind of talked about them a little bit, but let's get more detailed on it. So let me go ahead and pull this up. And before we move on, first take a look at this. If you're going to be seeking on your own, here's something that might be fun for you to do. All right, and if you're caught up, I hope if you are doing this, that you've done the same thing. Go find a copy of the NRSV online, copy and paste it into some kind of a document program and modify it to be like this, so that it puts it back in its original form. There's patterns in here, and the way that it is sectioned out for chapters and verses in the Bible are actually for they are very they're optimized for Bible study. They are not optimized for finding the template. So we have to put it back in the form before the Christians got a hold of it. How does that sound? Horrific? It's true. Okay. What I want to do here is, you see the example of mine right here, but you see some highlighted areas. And what I want to talk about in these right here is that if you go through it, the first creation story, in the beginning, when God created the heavens and the earth was a formless void, and darkness covered the face of the deep, while a wind from God swept over the face of the waters. Then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw that the light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night, and there was evening and morning the first day. Let there be light was the one thing that God instructed there. Number 2, let there be a dome in the midst of the waters, and let it separate the waters from the waters. Let the waters under the sky be gathered. For people that are not watching along, I'm scanning through the days here and jumping with them. What I'm doing is just isolating and highlighting the command. This is what is being brought into play right here. The rest of it is superfluous to carry the story, to make it sound good. If you go through here, you will see, let the waters bring forth swarms of living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth across the dome of the sky. So God created them. This is what was the command was, do this. This is calling it into existence. And then it comes into existence. Be fruitful and multiply, fill the waters. That's calling it into existence, and then it happens. This is calling life into existence. This is Anyway, just if you're studying on your own, I would do that. And again, you can see that there's a style difference here, though. If you look through this, and I wasn't going to say this on this video, but if you look and read here, you'll see that there's like commands, and God said, and God said, and God said. This style is all about God, what God is doing. Second creation with it, and the Lord that God, in the day that the Lord God made the earth and the heavens when no plan. It doesn't say God said, God said, God said. This is something different here. It's a different style. So again, you can see what you look at it and go, those don't look the same. Anyway, okay, we're going to move on to first sin and its punishment. But first, let's get us here back right where we are right before first sin is its punishment, is that we are naked in the garden. The last verse in creation that we had, the second creation story, is therefore a man leaves his father and mother and clings to his wife, and they become one flesh. And the man and his wife were both naked and were not ashamed. There's a couple of things that are being set up right here. And, honestly, I'm going to have to just say this is the advanced class. There's a couple of layers of things going on in that verse right there. And it's hard to see those layers at first. We are leaving our mother and father behind, clinging to our wife. We are also naked, combined with we are Adam and Eve. We're combined, naked, unashamed in the garden. Let's talk through those, because it's two things happening right there. First of all, the naked, the creation is us. our conscious and our subconscious. This is a point in time where, as children, after creation, we are happy. We're not hurt by life. We have not experienced life. We haven't judged life. We haven't begun to experience it. We're happy little kids doing what happy little kids do. All right, so naked is being used in the spiritual teaching as covering yourself with garments. This is one of the analogs that doesn't shift in the same way that a food analog would. Eating something in the physical world, eating something in the spiritual world. Eating bad stuff in either one is bad for you. Eating good stuff in either one is good for you. That's a direct translation. It works very well. People can get on board with that. You grab your book and say, I'm going to go consume something. That would work. That is a spiritual, that's an easy analog to see. Okay, now we've got something called naked, though. This is also an analog. But when you analyze it, it works a little bit differently. We tend to approach that thinking, oh, you got to be clothed. You need to have garments on. This is where it breaks down. In the spiritual world, you don't want to be clothed. You want to be naked. We're reading these stories going, oh my God, why are they clothing their father and all that stuff? Because they're the problem, not him. They are taking over from the old man. The new selves are taking over from the old self. This is a decay happening. So this is where we have to be careful with the analogs. What are they doing? In the spiritual world, you want to be stripped naked. Naked in the garden is that point in time we are not covered with life's experiences, the hurt, the things, the judgments, those people this and that, and I this and that, and I want, and I don't, we haven't had that yet. We're still just, yay, happy. This is naked, and because we're not covered with anything, we're unashamed, we haven't accumulated anything that we're trying to hide inside of us yet, so we are not divorced. We're still combined with our inner being. Our Adam and Eve are combined in the garden, state of happiness, naked, unashamed. That is where we are. This is a point in time in our life, in the creation of the human. Okay, that's the first layer of teaching. Understanding the analogs, understanding that we are at a point in time in life where we are there. But what's the other layer then? We need to leave our mother and father and cling to our wife. So now that we know what our wife is, we know that that's an inner thing. Mother and father is who we came from physically, the physical world. The mother and father is the physical world. Where's the wife? It's our inner world. It transitioned us from outward looking to inward looking, and it slid that right in there. You're going to find that in other places. You can find it in Jesus' work when there's a point where Jesus is being asked, how come your disciples don't wash their hands or something like that? Like the ones of John's and the Pharisees do. And he goes on to answer something about a bride chamber, wine, skins, jacket, things like that. And you look at that and go, what the hell is that flow there? He didn't even answer the question. John and the Pharisees represents the non-understanding and the past. John baptizes people in flesh, Jesus in spirit. That's a transition from outward looking to inward looking. Sometimes you see those kludges there and that'll alert you. In this case, it's so smooth. I only knew it because I see it other places. That I've seen it in Buddha's work, Lao Tzu's work, and in Jesus' work. And I looked at that and I realized that's what they were doing. Only in that I see it here and recognize it. I would not have recognized that if I didn't catch it from somewhere else. This is a patterned thing, outward to inward. It is a patterned. You'll find it. All right, if you have survived everything I'm saying and what I'm talking about to this point, we're on board. Let's just jump ahead then and see what happens. We got first sin and its punishment. Here we are, the life begins. We're the happy kid. Remember that. Now let's get into the story, remembering that this is something that is going to be telling us something about our individual, personal life. Now the serpent was more crafty than any other wild animal that the Lord God had made. He said to the woman, "Did God say, 'You shall not eat from any tree in the garden'?" The woman said to the serpent, "We may eat of the trees of the garden, but God said, 'You shall not eat of the fruit of the tree that is in the middle of the garden, nor shall you touch it, or you shall die.' But the serpent said to the woman, 'You will not die, for God knows that when you eat of it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil.'" All right, I'm going to stop right there and let's talk about that. The serpent, again, all of these are analogs. The serpent represents something. And let me just describe the best way that I believe I can define what that analog is. The serpent means life, first life, while we are simply experiencing life, unaware that as things are coming in and processing it, that we're storing it, that we're judging it, that we're processing it, that we are becoming products of that thinking process. That's it. That's the serpent. We become what we don't want to be. Eventually, if you go on the trip, you go, oh my God, what has happened? How do I disengage from this? But we learned through this material that we emerge, we came from nothing, we start out empty, things are going to be in cycles. We've got all that stuff from creation happening. The 5 parts of the mind, all of those are in place. The serpent at this point, though, is representing now that we are beginning life, unaware that that is happening. And the serpent is tied to the ground. The serpent can never elevate. The serpent has no legs, no wings, nothing like that. This represents being stuck in the physical realm. It can never rise up above. So here we are eating from a tree of the knowledge. We can eat anything we want to in the garden. We can consume anything we want to, any tree. It doesn't really designate what it is except for that one tree. And there's another tree that is a tree of life. That's the one we want to find. I don't know if it shows up in this Bible anywhere. I don't think so. That tree of life just disappears, isn't it? It's not there anymore. We never get back to it. But we consume of the tree of the. This is us beginning to live life, and that tree grows and grows and grows, and it's going to continue on. So what happens then is that we went from that little kid, I'm happy, to, oh, those people hurt each other. I saw death. I am hurt. They did this to me. I don't like that. I have guilt over this, so I'm not going to tell anybody. We begin accumulating that. We become separated from ourselves. The big teaching Jesus is, when you make the 2 into 1 and tell this mountain to move, it will move. This is all about getting back to this point where we are not divided. When we are living life and things are acting out of us, that they're always things that we want. That they're not the things that we have accumulated while we were consuming of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Okay, make sense? Okay, so as we move on then, let me zoom this. I'm sorry about this. I should make this easier to read. Oh, there we go. I'm sorry, I'm still learning. So when the woman saw the tree was good for food, and that it was a delight to the eyes, and that the tree was to be desired to make one wise. Yeah, life is tempting, isn't it? I want to go get that. She took its fruit and ate, and she also gave some to her husband, who was with her, and he ate. Okay, whatever you do is going to affect your subconscious and your conscious. You're both going to be affected by this. The decision was made honestly. The woman didn't do it. The man made the conscious decision. It doesn't show up here, but when you look at the mind, the woman, your subconscious didn't go do this. Your subconscious accumulated what the man decided. That's the reality of it. But they're not going to put that in there because it won't work in the culture. We have to figure out what they're doing that's trickier. No, welcome to Planet Earth, goofball. What? I don't know what that note is. Okay, so when the woman saw the tree was good for, yeah, there we go, and gave some to her husband who was with her, and he ate. Then the eyes of both were opened, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made loincloths for themselves. This is the first time we're starting to cover our nakedness right there. We've got something we want to hide. I'm not telling anybody. I don't like that, or something, somehow, somewhere. So what happens? They heard the sound of the Lord God walking in the garden at the time of the evening breeze, and the man and his wife hid themselves in the presence of the Lord God among the trees of the garden. But the Lord God called to the... Oops, I zoomed it too much. But the Lord God called to the man and said to him, "Where are you?" He said, "I heard the sound of you in the garden, and I was afraid, because I was naked and I hid myself." This is just setting up the higher being that we're looking. We understand that we are no longer okay. Yeah, we're not. Something happened. You lost your innocence. I lost my innocence. We lost our innocence. Now we want to hide. God said, "Who told you you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree I commanded you not of?" Yeah, we experience a life. Everybody goes through this. The woman she gave me the fruit of the tree and I ate. Yeah, we know better than that. Then the Lord God said to the woman, what is this that you have done?" The woman said, "The serpent tricked me and I ate." So it goes through this whole thing. And the Lord God said to the serpent, "Because you have done this, cursed are you among all animals and among all wild creatures. On your belly you shall go." The snakes have always been there. Fossil records show they're grabbing things from the cult. They're looking around and saying, here, find things that people can see on a daily basis and create a story that makes sense to them that they will carry, that is nesting this template. We're looking for that template. It's not going to be easy to see. They have to put it in something that people are going to carry. I put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offspring and hers. He will strike your head and I will strike his heel. I don't know what all that is, other than it's just, it's like the snake, you're punished. Okay, well, the snake is punished. You don't get off the ground. Okay. It's not going to anyway. Here's where it gets important. To the woman, this is our subconscious. To the woman, he said, I will greatly increase your pangs in childbearing. In pain you shall bring forth children. Yet your desire shall be for your husband, and he shall rule over you. Boom, right there. The husband rules over us. The conscious rules over the subconscious. The children are the offspring of that union, of the experiences that we have together, the things that we put away, what we learn, what we judge becomes an offspring. They can be good, they can be bad. In this case, however, it's setting up bad because it's saying your pangs in childbearing. In pain you shall bring forth children. It's increasing. It's painful for you to. So women, it's painful for women to have children, isn't it? I would imagine passing a watermelon through your pelvis would be painful. They just grab something that's already happening. Again, we're going to find that this is a pattern behavior in the template as far as leaving the past behind or having difficulties. There's something, in this case, what is happening is that there's a cyclical pain that is emerging. If you were to read Greek myth, the boulder up the hill comes back down before this repeated sort of a thing. The liver being eaten out and growing back, being eaten out, punishment for something they can do nothing about it. There's methods of showing this happening, and it's always a common thing. What this is telling us, what is it that we've accumulated, a pain, a shame, something like that later in life you get triggered off it, and it keeps emerging. We continue to give birth, and it's painful, and it hurts both of us. Conscious and subconscious. It hurts our entire being. We are becoming separated. We're becoming hurt. The conscious here, we see the woman shall cling to her husband. Yeah, you're stuck there. We are together. And the conscious rules over. So as much as we're being told that the subconscious, there's something happening that's bad, it's a woman's fault, but the conscious is the one that rules what is going on. It makes the decisions. The way the material is going to work later is that how it's going to unfold with the 5 parts of the mind is that there's that part of us that is a higher being that is kind of disconnected from things. Our conscious that just looks at everything and has an experience at the moment and decides what it is and stores it away. That is how we're working. That is how we're functioning through life. That conscious, that higher being, when we were little, we didn't know it was there, but it dissipates into the background as the conscious makes decisions and we begin living through those experiences. And that is what is happening here, that we are, well, that is beginning to happen. Let's keep reading and see what else is going on here. To the man, he said, because you have listened to the voice of your wife and have eaten of what you shall not eat of, what is the punishment here? All of your days' life. In toil you shall eat of it all the days of your life. Thorns and thistles it shall bring forth to you, and you shall eat the plants of the field. This is what is emerging from our garden. Yeah, why does this make sense? Because it's a spiritual teaching, and these are analogous for what we have consumed, what we were not supposed to. We wouldn't experience life in a way that, well, there we are. It's going to happen anyway. Whether God told us to or not, this is it's what happens. Here we are. At some point in time, we have consumed, we've eaten it, we're trying to get back to a pure self. Because of it, in toil you shall eat of it the days of your life. Life is going to be hard, and we're going to continue to consume what we have emerging from us. By the sweat of your face you shall eat bread until you return to the ground, for out of it you are taken, you are dust, and to the dust you will return. You're just going to live life blind if you don't wake up. The man named his wife Eve. Eve means first woman because she was the mother of all living. I think Adam means first man. And the Lord God made garments of skin for the man and his wife and clothed them. So yeah, you now have You now have, you're now ready to lie and tell and hide things away. Tell people, nope, I didn't. That never happened to me. Nope. Yeah. Then the Lord God said, "See, the man has become like one of us, knowing good and evil, and now he might reach out his hand and take also from the tree of life and eat and live forever. Therefore the Lord God sent him forth from the Garden of Eden." God, you know what? I didn't see this before. Might become like one of us. There it is again. There's another polytheism. What the heck? I'm going to come back and look at that. Okay. You see how stuff you go through it and go, wait a minute. There's more in here. Knowing good and evil. Yeah, I don't know what this part is. It sounds different, doesn't it? And you know what? Honestly, that right there fits with day 6 of the added in creation story. Could that be right? Something else is not lining up. Okay. Therefore the Lord God sent him forth from the Garden of Eden to till the ground from which he was taken. Yep, there you go. You lost your happiness. Go off and live life. He drove the man out at the east of the Garden of Eden and placed the cherubim and a sword flaming and turning to guard the way to the tree of life. I don't know what those two mean, the cherubim and the sword flaming. It's just not going to be easy. What does that mean? You want to get back there. I want to get back to my childhood happiness. Oh, it's going to be damn hard. Okay. So the next thing that happens is that Cain murders Abel. And let's talk about this for a second. I'll read a little bit first and then talk about it. Now the man knew his wife Eve, and she conceived and bore Cain, saying, "I have produced a man with the help of the Lord." Next she bore his brother Abel. Now Abel was a keeper of sheep, and Cain a tiller of the ground. In the course of time Cain brought to the Lord an offering of the fruit of the ground, and Abel for his part brought of the firstlings of his flock their fat portions. And the Lord had regard for Abel and his offering, but for Cain and his offering he had no regard. Okay, let's stop right there and talk about this. Again, these are components of our psyche. So if they're representing us at various times in our life. They're portioning out our life and building a story on that this becomes an earlier self or a first part of ourself, a part of ourself, and it's a duality. You see, one of them works the ground. Where did the snake come from? The ground. One of them tills the ground. Sounds wonderful. Oh, I do farming and all that kind of stuff. That's what they're doing in their culture. For us as an analog, it's telling us this is tied to the ground. It's not a bad thing to be a farmer and a tiller. It's bad to be tied to the ground. Who is offering the fat? That's what they're doing at that time to God. That's a big thing to them. That represents giving something to an elevated place, bringing your offering. An offering to God comes from a higher place. And that's just what it looks like to me. So one of them is a higher self that has the potential to be good, and one of them is the one that is tied to the ground. And the one tied to the ground kills off the other one. If we were to read the Enuma Elish, there's going to be something similar happening with a character called Kingu and Tiamat. Tiamat represents Eve. Kingu represents the earlier self. They've got it played out differently in there where, she's evil and has to be destroyed. She's going to be replaced later on and split. It's a different kind of a way of carrying the template. So they sound different until you interpret them this way. Then you realize, oh, those are the same story. Yeah, they are. They're just carried differently. Okay, so what is it happening right here? This represents our earlier self. Just this is not our best. We're staying tied to the ground and moving on. Okay, what happens next? Okay, so Cain was very angry and his countenance fell. The Lord said to Cain, "Why are you angry and why is your countenance fallen? If you do well, will you not be accepted? And if you do not do well, sin is lurking at the door. Its desire is for you, but you must master it." Cain said to his brother Abel, "Let us go out to the field." And when they were in the field, Cain rose up against his brother and killed him. Then the Lord said to Cain, "Where's your brother Abel?" He said, "I don't know. Am I my brother's keeper?" And the Lord asked him, "What have you done?" He said, listen, your brother's blood is crying out to me from the ground, and now you are cursed from the ground, which has opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. When you till the ground, it will no longer yield to you its strength. You will be a fugitive and a wanderer on the earth. Cain said to the Lord, my punishment is greater than I can bear. Now let's take a break and get back to that. So this first part I read up here, this is the earlier self taking over from the other self. We got the good side, the bad side. We just become divided right here, and who wins is the bad side. We go ahead and live life. We don't have a choice. We're going to live life. The rest of this, I'm not quite sure, about the brother's blood crying out in the ground. And now you're cursed from the ground. So you're going to be living the physical life. You're going to be out there protesting in the streets, carrying flags and banners and, all that kind of crap, because you have not figured out life, which has opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. I don't know what that means. When you till the ground, it will no longer yield to you its strength. You will be a fugitive and a wanderer on the earth. This is your earth. You are a wanderer on the earth, but this is our life. When you till the ground, when we are trying to produce from ourselves, when we are trying to do things like the DVD The Secret says, just forget about that stuff. It's not going to work. When you till the ground, when you look, when you want things to work, when you want the graces of life, it's not going to give you its strength because you got a bunch of crap in the way. So when they tell you in that DVD, that's just called so what? Every spiritual teaching in antiquity tells you that's the biggest thing to start with right there. That right there is you're a product of that, and you need to, so what can work if your life is okay? At any rate, okay, we move on. Cain said to the Lord, my punishment is greater than I can bear. Today you have driven me away from the soil, and I shall be hidden from your face. I shall be a fugitive and wander the earth, and anyone who meets me may kill me. Okay, so this is really ourself. Just it's a story. It's a story that is for the culture. I look at it and I go, I don't know that we have anything spiritually new in there that we're looking at. There's going to be punishment. Yep. You've driven away from the soil. This is not the Lord. This is actually what is happening internally from us. I shall be hidden from your face. Yeah, we don't see our higher being anymore. I shall be a fugitive and a wanderer on the earth, and anyone who meets me may kill me. But then the Lord said, no, not so. Whoever kills Cain. That's weird, doesn't it? Doesn't that sound weird? Then the Lord said to him, not so. Whoever kills you will suffer. It should say. I don't know why this sounds weird sometimes. Whoever kills Cain will suffer a sevenfold vengeance. And the Lord put a mark on Cain so that no one who came upon him would kill him. Okay, again, if we drop to the Enuma Elish, there is going to be a point where, in that story, if you were to read it, where the Kingu character, who's the first self, gets presented with the plaque of, here is all the power. You get to take charge. That's what's happening right here, is that this first self, look at your own life. If you're on this path, if you can see a part of your life where you, before you're ready to go on the path, we know everything. We're not going on a path. We are very convinced and committed of us being right. And once we open up and begin to learn, we realize then how much we're not. But at this point in time, we're very safe. We're very protected. This makes it sound like God is protecting you for a good thing. But in all reality, you are being protected because you're an egomaniacal pain in the ass. I am an egomaniacal pain in the ass. That's the protection that we have right there. We're going to be protected because of that. I don't know how to unwrap this in any other way right now. And again, it's looking through other material and making comparisons and realizing that this first self is difficult. Jason and the Argonauts, it's King Pelias. King Pelias represents your first self, and Jason represents that part of you that is going to be called later to go back and go watch that movie and try to look for those elements in there. It's kind of funny. It's an adventure, but this template is in there. This template is in there. And more. It's a fun thing. Okay. Then Cain went away from the presence of the Lord and settled in the land of Nod, east of Eden. Okay, so we left the presence of the Lord. The Lord is our higher being. We are no longer with it. We are now Cain and not connected with our higher self, and we settle in the land of Nod, east of Eden. So something about east of Eden is going to be Nod and east of Eden doesn't sound like a good place that we want to be. Those are going to be analogs from their culture that are going to come in somewhere. They're going to mean something. Nod and east. We already know what Eden is, but we're not in Eden. We're east of Eden. So, yeah, we're not where we want to be. The beginnings of civilization, let's hold off on that one because this is already a 30-minute video, and that one's going to get, I think that one needs to have a video of its own. All right, what I want to talk about is that the stories do work different. If you were to read the Enuma Elish, for example, it is not a network. Or maybe it was a smaller network at one point in time, but it's kind of like start to finish, here it is, here's how you come about, your beginnings, what happens at first, what you must do to go back. Now start thinking, wipe out the old stuff. Now think of a new future, move ahead into that after ridding the past, that life changes at that point and it's done. So it's like a creation and a monomyth. That's it. These creation and a monomyth that's going to become part of a network that's going to become bigger and bigger and bigger. And that may not have been the first intention. That might be why we're seeing things plugged in here that it's like, oh, you know what? We need tie points that are going to come in somewhere else. It's so big, I can't see that stuff. I don't know it. But you look at it and go, damn it, something's going on here that is so patterned that if you just keep mentally thinking that way, by extension, it would be that way. So there's not going to be an identical element. So in the Enuma Elish, that first character, Kingu, has to be destroyed. In this case, Cain doesn't have to be destroyed. Cain can die off, giving offspring to something else that's going to come about later. There's going to be a lineage that's going to be happening that is still us. It's later iterations of ourselves. And that is how it would play out and continue to maintain consistency on the template. The template is going to be small with steps in it, and each one of the steps can start becoming monstrously huge with a lot of detail for the culture, but it doesn't make the template any different. It makes the story different. It makes the shell different. It makes the ark, the carrier, different, as far as I can see. Anyway, hope this was fun and interesting, and I'm going to work on that next one. And so on this one, we've gone now from our happy state, what we started first in. We've begun to live life. We've begun to have experiences that have, we're now divided, and our earlier self, we have two lives, and the second one starts the moment we realize we only have one life. We want to go back. We want to turn inward. That inward turn right there, that leave your mother and father and cling to it, that inward turn, inward turn. We got to turn inward to use the material, and the material plays out inward. We have to do that. We've lost our happiness. We're on our way in life. This is the creation of the human being, and it will fit with every human. And it's explaining what the anomalous things are. Yeah. All right. Till next video. Love one another. I'll see you in that one.